Howdy everyone in YouTube land, it's Diggle the Beagle here. How y'all doing? Great, wonderful, amazing. Today I want to discuss something that I recently realized while checking out the new OCG cards. There's a new series of cards that I actually think may, at least in quite a few decks, replace the adventure engine as the best generic negate option engine that you can have in your deck. Let's go over the engines first, and then I'll give my reasons as to why you would want to replace the adventure engines and for what decks you could actually replace the adventure engine in. Let's start off with the adventure engine everyone knows and loves. Use things like Rite of Aramasir and Water Enchantress of the Temple to get Wandering Griffin Rider, plus a token onto your field. You get an extra body, plus a negate. It's great. Plus, Dracoback allows you to bounce Floodgates. It's really good for that reason. And some people often put an Illegal Knight as well, just in case you're going second with this engine. The problem for this engine, at least for me, has always been the fact that it gets rid of your normal summon. This means that quite a few decks can't use it, and even some meta decks haven't been able to use it because they need their normal summon to even do anything. Tier 2, Tier 3 even, and especially rogue tier decks can't even use this at all. The second problem I have with this engine is the fact that it takes up two main monster zones. Now, in most decks this doesn't really matter, but in certain decks, you really need your zone math to be perfect, so this can be a problem. Now, after going over the adventure engine and its problems, let's go over the Diabellstar engine, why you would prefer it over the adventure engine, and its own problems as well. Starting off, you have Diabellstar the Dark Witch. You summon it from your hand by discarding another card from your hand or field to the graveyard. And when it's summoned, you can immediately after set a Sinful Spoils spell trap directly from your deck. It does not add, so it does not trigger shit like a Droll and Lockbird. That's important to note. As well as if it's sent to the graveyard during your opponent's turn, you can send another card from your hand or field to the graveyard, special summon her back. It is very important for the engine, and we're going to have to remember that. You play 3 of that. You're then playing 3 the Sinful Spoils Hunter Fiend. This just adds Diabellstar, no other reason. And then 1 Sinful Spoils of Betrayal Sylvia, which allows you to get rid of a Diabellstar on the field to target a card in the field, negate it, as well as 1 Sinful Spoils of Doom Lucilla, which allows you to target a level 7 or higher spellcaster you control. It turns into a tower, destroys itself during the next standby phase of the next turn. And also all your opponents lose attack equal to that monster's attack, and then if it reduces to 0 by that effect, it destroys them. This is goddamn insane. Attack reduction plus field nuke plus turning Diabellstar into towers, and requires very minimal effort. Basically how the engine works is get Diabellstar out during your turn, set Sinful Spoils of Betrayal, which allows you to send a Diabellstar you control to the graveyard to target negate. So basically how it works is your opponent does anything, you target negate that, and then since Diabellstar was sent during the opponent's turn, you send another card from your hand or field to the graveyard to summon it back, and then immediately you can set Sinful Spoils of Doom. You can't activate it yet, but it's important to note that during your turn, you can just board wipe pretty much for free, which is really, really fucking good. It kind of forces your opponent to respond, because while yes, a lot of the generic monsters are 2500 attack or higher, but also, if you know what deck you're up against, instead of setting Sinful Spoils of Betrayal, you can set Sinful Spoils of Doom first, and then you'll have that possible board wipe. Now, starting off, this fixes the problems I have with the Adventure Engine. The Adventure Engine, you can't use your normal summon. This frees up your normal summon completely. As well as with the Adventure Engine, it takes up a lot of zones. You have to use 2 spell trap zones plus 2 monster zones. That's a lot. Diabellstar only requires 1 monster zone and 1 spell trap zone to be used at the same time. This means, in my opinion at least, that any deck that requires its normal summon can now slot this in for a free negate and possible board wipe while also getting a free towers. I think that's pretty damn good. In a lot of decks, better than the Adventure Engine. However, I'll be damned if I won't talk about the cons of this deck. First of all, having to get rid of 2 cards in your hand or field is pretty costly for a lot of decks. And the Adventure Engine only requiring you to get rid of 1 is a lot better. As well as the Adventure Engine has the payoff of an Omni from anywhere. Hand, grave, field, deck, effect activates anywhere. You can negate that bitch with Wandering Griffin. Whereas Sinful Souls of Betrayal can only hit a card in the field to negate it, which is slightly less good. I'll also be damned if I don't mention that some decks just want more bodies instead of bigger bodies. Diabellstar is a singular big body, but sometimes you just like that poke, you know what I'm saying? As well as Dracoback allows you to get rid of Floodgates. This deck can deal with Floodgates with Sinful Souls of Betrayal, allowing you to permanently negate the effects of that Floodgate. Unfortunately, you won't be able to reset that back up for another negation, but hopefully you should have another hand trap in your hand for that. Overall, do I think the Diabellstar engine will totally replace Adventure? Absolutely not. Like I've said before, any deck that doesn't need its normal summon, the Adventure engine is much preferable. It gives you a lot more. But any deck that likes its zone math a lot more and needs a lot more zones to function, or any deck that needs its normal summon, or even any deck that likes to send cards from hand to the graveyard, not via discarding unfortunately, so no Dark World tech on this one, will find that the Diabellstar engine is just better in every way for their deck. And I do believe Diabellstar will be, as soon as it goes into TCG, slid into a lot of decks, especially decks that are possibly not Rogue compatible. I mean, it's a level 7 spellcaster, it can side in pretty well with a certain magician you may have heard of. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. Hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you on the flip side.